live now, and we should have people joining us over the next 2 minutes so we can hang out and finish getting ready.
Cool.
Intro, all that good jazz. And then here at 1 minute, here at 2 p.m. live my time, we'll shoot off. Sound good?
Cool.
All right.
So can you see who's on? Can I see who's online or not?
I have the Q&A open on the YouTube. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted at all. I have the Q&A open on YouTube, so you'll be able to see. You should be able to see questions as they come in. But I won't think you'll be able to see who's viewing and when.
Okay.
The viewer counter, unfortunately, isn't reliable because if anybody's not perfectly with us live, they don't count as a viewer.
Okay.
It's weird. So, anywho, let's see here. All right, so it's 2 o'clock, and let's go ahead and kick this pig right off. Let's welcome to another Full Circle Q&A. Our guest today is the awesome Matthew Wright. I'll be your host today, Alex Borton. Hey, Matthew! Woo!
Living the dream. Hey.
How are you doing today, man?
All right, Alex. I'm all good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we generally as we build the beginning viewership, and just kind of for the people who don't know who you are, can you just give us a quick who you are, where you came from, and why exactly are you doing what you do right now?
My name is Marvellous Matthew Wright. I'm from Burnley in England. It's near to Manchester. You won't know it. And I've been doing magic since I was a little kid, since I was about 3 or 4 years old, when my dad made a coin disappear. And then I got out of it because I found out about beer and girls. And then I found out that you could get beer and girls using magic, so I got back into it again. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome, man. You know, I find that a lot of people have that early magic story. Me personally, I didn't get into it until I was out of high school for a few years. It was just something I stumbled upon. But I get that a lot in a lot of these Q&As where the guys go, you know, I started with a magic kit when I was a kid. You know, Dad vanished a coin and appeared behind my ear, or I got a magic kit from one uncle.
It was Paul Daniels as well, you know. Paul Daniels was massive over here in the UK. I bet everyone around my age will credit Paul Daniels for it. But the thing was, when I was a little kid, I thought if I started learning magic, when I got to a certain level, then they would teach me the real stuff. I didn't realise it was tricks. I thought what Paul Daniels was doing was real magic, and these tricks were just something that you learn, and then you got to learn how to do real magic. So I'm still waiting.
I'm still waiting on that one as well.
Although it did happen, really. I met Eugene Berger, and that's where it all happened. That Eugene does real magic for me. So I met up with Eugene Berger, and I went to take lessons, and that's where the real magic started.
That's great, man. Just something I've been wondering for a little while. What led you to your FISM win? That was it was something we had talked about earlier. Your all of your productions. What led up to the team?
Well, I didn't win. I came second in FISM. Yeah, no, I came second to Jan Frisch. The genius that's Jan Frisch. You know, people called me the Andy Murray of magic because Andy Murray's a tennis player, and he always used to come second, and he'd say, you were just around at the wrong time. You were around when Federer was playing and when Nadal was playing. I was around when Jan Frisch was playing. But the act itself is just a long development of years and years, really, of my favourite tricks and how to put them together. A lot of people, when they're coming up with an act, try and have this vision of this whole act and try and start from scratch. I'm not even sure that's possible. I think you start with what you've got, and you just build and build and build and build and put on. And a lot of the things that I did was don't be afraid to smash it up. Just smash it up and start again. I was doing that an awful lot. I was working at a place in Spain where we were doing 12 shows a week. So I got to do my act 12 shows a week. And I got it good. And then I'd smash it to pieces and change it completely. And it'd be terrible for 3 or 4 shows. And then it'd build back up again to good. And then I'd smash it apart again. And then over the course of 2 years, it just built and built. And I could pick back bits from the other good shows and the other good acts and just piece them all together. So that's how the act developed. It certainly wasn't one idea. I think I'll tell you how it did come, and it was a lot of it came from Lady Gaga. The song "Poker Face," you know that. So much came from that one song. We had a show in Spain. That we used to do for English people. It was English tourists that came along. And then we had one night that we were doing an international show. So we had no music. We had no speaking. We couldn't do any speaking. So the boss said, we need new tricks to do to music. So it's all to music, the show. And Lady Gaga had just released Poker Face as an acoustic version. So I thought that's a great song to do a trick to. So I started doing it, and that was the start of the whole act. So that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think. And as part of that song, it says, I am marvelous. And I do I am marvelous, a little dance like that. And that's where Marvelous Matthew Wright came from. And that's where Marvelous Effects came from. So the whole thing, everything about me really has come from Lady Gaga.
That's awesome, man.
I don't even like Lady Gaga.
And you have some amazing releases out, some just absolutely great releases out. What is your creative process in going through and creating some of these effects? I know the one, God, the name escapes me, but passing the coins across is the ending to Three Fly that you do.
Final Destination.
That one, yes.
Yeah, where you take a coin and it floats.
That one.
That one. Yeah, that's called Final Destination. Well, every time I create something, it's usually a different process. It's very rarely the same process. I'll come back to one of my new releases in a second because that's an interesting story. But the Final Destination, I'll tell you about that one. It was I had the Three Fly and I was playing with it, and I was sitting with Jeff McBride, who's one of my teachers, and we were in Blackpool in the Ruskin, and he said, wouldn't it be cool, you know how everyone says, oh, let's do it in slow motion and do this little gag? He said, wouldn't it be cool if you could make it go in slow motion? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So we played around a little bit and came up with a method for it. So it's down to, a lot of it's down to Jeff McBride.
Wow, man.
On that one. He gave me the inspiration for it, and then I just found the method. And I think that's the hardest bit for me, is finding the inspiration to create something. The method is the easy part, really. Once you have the idea, you can just, the method's just hard work. The method's just, you try something and you try again and you practice and you try again. So that's just work, that's easy. But the actual, the thought process to get the original idea is the most difficult bit.
You know, and something you said earlier about when you were creating that particular FISM effect, you're not afraid to smash things apart. And I think when creating, that's something that's really, really, really important. I have a few effects that I've been even now working on where I've gone, well, this is the idea, and it's something I may have done with the card by accident in my hand along those lines. And that turns into, okay, well, I want to do this. Well, that's not working out, but what else could I do with this now that I have it? You know, it's obviously not going to work for what I wanted it, but it's nice to have.
Yeah.
Smash apart, dissecting.
One part of that's fine if it's not working. It's more difficult to smash it apart when it is working.
Yeah.
When you have something really good and then you smash it apart. That's the tough bit. And that's what a lot of professionals and a lot of people who are doing it a long time don't have the guts to do, and they should look at it. Like, if I had a ring on string routine that I learned when I was maybe 16 years old, and it was a great routine. It was something I put a lot of work into it. From Greg Wilson's Ringleader, I did a lot of work on it. I worked a lot on it. It looks really cool. And I stuck with that for 20 years. And then I thought, you know, maybe I should go back and look at that with the knowledge that I've got now, not looking at it as a young kid, but with the knowledge that I've got now, and smashed the routine that I've done for 20 years that worked really well, smashed it to pieces and rebuilt. And there are a lot of professionals out there who've been doing something that works. There's no need for them to smash it up, so they don't. But if they went and smashed it up with the extra 15 years experience they've got since they learnt it, maybe they'd come up with something even better.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right, man. That's part of growth is being able to challenge yourself, and I think that's a great way to challenge yourself. And most people are building towards a greater routine that's going to be the pinnacle, and you take and say, okay, well, this is really good. This is now a building block. It's a package, and a lot of people don't want to ruin any of those blocks because that means, sometimes, like you said, building entire routines, entire shows just out of nothing.
Well, I have a real process for the stage shows.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that goes on stage will happen as a close-up trick, and then it'll go into a parlor trick in a bar setting, and that's when I move it onto the stage. So I'll practice the sleights for a few weeks or a few months, however long it takes to get those, and then I'll put it in front of it and do a small close-up trick with it, and then expand that into a bigger trick and then into a stage trick. Everything that I do on stage has been done in close-up first, or a version of it.
Or a version of it.
Creating tricks. One of the guys I was working with this year, a Spanish guy, asked me the same question, what's your process? And I didn't really have an answer because it's been different each time. So I decided to go home that night and create a new trick for him. So I invented a trick, and that's one of the new tricks that I'm bringing out. So
is that one of the ones you're going to be showing us?
Yeah, I'll show you that later on. Yeah.
That'd be awesome, man. All right. So then slightly switching gears. Then, for your stage performance, how did you go from the close up to stage? How did you do that?
I jumped in. Well, I was thrown in, to be honest. I'd won the Magic Circle of the Year competition, the close-up competition, and I got a job in Spain at a place called the House of Illusion. So I went to work there as a close-up magician, and then when I got there, I realized that I got told that the usual comedy magician, the guy that did the stage act, the comedy act, he'd left. So they had no one to do it. So they asked me to go up and do it. So literally that night I had to create a stage act and went up and did it.
Oh, geez, man. Thrown to the wolves, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, take off every opportunity in stride, right?
Absolutely. Embrace it, man. Yeah. Don't be afraid to fail. That's one of Jeff's things. Like I said, Jeff McBride's my teacher. It's one of his big things. Don't be afraid to fail, but fail quickly and learn from it. If you learn from a failure, it's not a failure.
No, absolutely. You have to be able to take all that sort of stuff in stride, rather.
It's weird what we do. I'd spent so long rehearsing and worrying about it and practicing, and then working in Spain. It was right. We've got a new trick. Let's put it in tonight. I became the director of magic. I worked there for 5 years, so I was in charge of all the younger guys and teaching them. And I say, right, we've got a trick we need to do. We've got a new illusion we need to put in. We'll get the guys in. We'll rehearse. And they'll be like, oh, we need 2 weeks. I say, great, you're doing it tonight. And it's like, they'd freak out and say, just get on and do it.
So that really actually helps because you weren't just performing magic at that point, you were producing magic. So that gives you both really both standpoints from the illusion. You really get to be the spectator as well as the performer at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I loved bringing guys through, teaching things. I mean, I pushed them quite hard. A lot of them maybe won't thank me for what I did, but I think when they look back and see what they learned, they'll thank me in the long run, I think.
Absolutely, man. I mean, and for your creations, your personal creations, how long did it take to go from something that you did as, say, on the stage or were helping other people do to move that into an actual something you'd want to sell?
Again, it's a different thing. I mean, I think the best product that I've done is the nut dropper, which is that one, which allows you to load something inside a walnut inside a fruit. Now, I'd always loved that effect, but I'd never seen a method that had been released that I really worked for me. So the invention of it came from necessity, because there was nothing out there that I could use personally, so I had to invent something. So that was literally 2 days from having the idea of, right, I need to do this, to inventing something, to putting it on the stage, and then within 12 months that was released to the market. Other things take a little longer. You know, like the floating coin was probably 4 or 5 years before of doing that before I released it.
You know, and the nut dropper, I have to say, because and you've probably been to Vegas quite a few times, but
Yeah.
it's as though that the guys out on the strip performing, that's everybody's go-to move is card to lemon or bill to lemon or something along those lines. And you know, the nut, man, the hard shelled nut is something that nobody is going to expect ever. So that take on that to me was just absolutely beautiful.
Cool. I mean, the idea of the nut isn't mine by any means. It goes back a long, long time. There's a walnut, an egg, the lemon, and yeah. But I mean, Paul Daniels made it very popular here with the walnut, the egg, and the lemon. Paul Daniels has been doing that day and night for 50 years probably. But my method, I think, is very clean, and it's a real workable routine. That's what I wanted to do. I was doing 2 shows a night, so it had to be set and it had to work without looking, without thinking. So that was my criteria.
Absolutely.
And of course, I did a degree, a BA degree in special effects, where I was learning to design and make things. And luckily, I had some really cool teachers there who allowed me to do 3 years just building magic tricks.
You know, and that's awesome, man. Especially, I mean, being able to be paid. Well, I mean, have the space to be able to engineer your tricks.
Yeah, it was great.
That being said, let me see if I can't scroll through the page. I'm having trouble loading the page on my phone.
Well, while I was at uni doing these special effects at uni, I built the Tommy Wonder nest of boxes.
Oh
Have
yeah?
you seen that? Yeah, the alarm clock version. That was incredible. In fact, that's where the Wonder phone stems from. I've got a version of the Tommy Wonder nest of boxes that maybe I've improved a little, or certainly put my own twist on it. It's a clear see-through box. And you never touch it at all. The spectator goes up, picks up the box, and opens it up and takes out what's inside. So it's, I think I've done Tommy okay with that. Tommy's writing of the nest of boxes was great. He's got it published in his Books of Wonder, and it's all there, but he's mixed it all up. He's changed the sizes, he's changed some from millimeters to inches, he's put some of the diagrams the opposite way around, and I think he did it all on purpose, because it's such a great trick. If you wanted to build it, you had to work for it, you know? You couldn't just go to an engineer's and give him the plans. You had to really sit down and work it out, which, it was nice. It was like Tommy's little treasure hunt quest when I was building it. I really enjoyed doing it.
No, that's great, and it seems like you've worked with a lot of really, really cool people. I know Paul Daniels here here is just real great. I have had a few correspondences with him through Full Circle and whatnot. I don't know if he's on right now. So, getting back to kind of being able to release tricks, being able to perform, and I know you're going on tour soon. How do you manage to juggle all three of those items constantly?
Well, I have it's a pretty set routine that I do. the summer season, I work in Spain in holiday resorts for British tourists. So that season lasts them from late April, early May until September, October time. So that's your real performance time, where you're going out and you're working 6 nights a week, 3 shows a night. So you're doing a lot of performing in that time. So you've got 7 or 8 months of performing. So what I've got to try and do is come up with my ideas and build my prototypes while I'm in that performance time, which then gives me 6 months to really come up with a solid routine. And then I get back to the UK and I've got 2 or 3 months to try and redesign and put what I've learned in performance into a product that I can release. And I try to release for Blackpool Convention, because that's the biggest one in the UK, and it just times it perfectly. So I'm under a little bit of pressure now to get all my designs in for these next two to get everything ready for Blackpool.
Absolutely, man. And something I noticed is like, I mean, even though some of your effects seem to be, well, I mean, it is whatever you use it for. Seem to have those points of really mystifying moments. You're very heavily a comedic magician. Has it always been that way?
Comedic, did you say?
Comedic, yes. Funny.
Yeah, not at all. No, I was quite dark and moody, really. I was a big fan of Eugene Berger's. Like I say, I moved to Chicago, took lessons with Eugene Berger, hung out with Jeff a lot, so it was quite dark. It was quite real magic, bordering on bizarre magic. So that's where I was for a long time. I was kind of like a little mini clone of Eugene in some ways. And then you grow and you find your own personality a little bit. Being told to be the comedy guy. I mean, I'd always put little quirky lines in and try to have humour with it, but to actually go out with the purpose of making someone laugh is quite a daunting thing, really. I wouldn't say I'm a comedy magician.
Right. Not quite a comic.
I think I'm a magician. Yeah, a magician who has some elements of comedy in there, and hopefully I make people laugh. I do make people laugh, but there are other guys who are more reliant on the. If you took comedy out of my act, hopefully it'd still be a good magic act. Where a lot of comedy magicians, if you take the comedy out, it's not so great, you know. But they're great comedians, so they can get away with it.
So I guess that would be the difference between a comedic magician and a comic magician.
I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. Maybe it's the difference between a magician and a good magician. I don't know.
Hey,
you know?
right. Well, we're coming close up into the halfway mark. Did you want to go ahead and promo one of your effects real quick? I know you said you had one or two that you possibly wanted to do.
Yeah, one was the little floating coin that you busted me with at the start, so I thought that's kind of
really like that one. And even in your promo, man, it's that was one of the things. It was very much just a movement right across, no real anything. It was just you watching it. It did feel that I felt that darker undertone during that.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, the scary thing for a lot of people is that you're hooked up the whole time. You know, when you're doing, because it's not just one coin, you're doing a full 3-fly routine. You're going from here to here. Both coins, but your hands are always empty, and then the final one goes. So you're hooked up the whole time while you're doing it, which is pretty cool. Quite scary as well. I mean, I was never a big thread guy. Never a big thread guy. But the thread that I found was really, really strong. Quite cool. And that idea, I mean, you're talking about how to develop tricks and things, that then led into Horizon, which was another floating trick, which you can do with all sorts of things. I've got my wallet here, so you open the wallet and and the money comes out of the wallet, so that floats straight out of the wallet. That developed from that idea. It was like I've been doing the coin trick for 5 or 6 years, maybe a little more than that. And I think I put some. There's some wax and blue tack that's involved in the gimmick. I won't show you the back of that just yet, but some of it had stuck to the front of the coin, and I thought I could put a card on that, and I could float a card. So literally, that was on a drive from London to Burnley, which is a 3-hour drive. So I had the thought just before I got in the car, and I'm making calls all the way up. Halfway up, I stopped and met up with the guys who filmed my videos. We made a promo for it there, and I carried on up the road, and I got a quote for how much it would be to produce these things by the time I arrived in Burnley. So it was a 3-hour drive from the concept of the idea to almost going into manufacture with it.
That is crazy, and I really liked, and they can't be that hard of a hookup. I mean, I know, and that is scary. I mean, as somebody who, I've never been a big thread worker myself, but I do certain things, small ring stuff generally, with thread here and there, and it's always such a scary thing, always having it on you somewhere. You're always afraid you're going to rip through it, but you moved in and out of both hookups very quickly, very seamlessly.
Yeah, that's the thing with it. That's the hardest bit. Those are the hardest bits. Coming up with the trick's okay. Coming up with the method is okay. But then to make it commercial, that you can sell and people can actually do it and use it, that's the most difficult bit.
Right, usability, and that turns into the hard bit. I don't do a 3-fly routine myself, but honestly, that moment right there has been the one thing that's always made me go, yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to learn one just to be able to float the coin, or have a real reason to float the coin. Because really, what other reason do you have to float the coin?
Well, floating's a weird thing. I mean, people automatically think that it's on a piece of string. So you've got to come up with reasons to stop them from thinking that. But yeah, I like it. I use it a lot. I use the coin a lot more than the card, because obviously you can't do two things. You can't do the same effect twice, really. But I love the card effect just as much. I think it's strong. I made a guy cry with it once, which was nice.
Oh man. So was that the one that you were going to show? Was the coin one? I busted you on that.
Yeah, that was one. What, do you want a real performance of it?
Yeah, well, because you kind of flashed through 3-fly really quick, but I didn't get to see it too much.
Okay, well let's have a look. The hat goes on. When the hat goes on, that's like my superhero outfit. We'll talk about superheroes in a minute if you want to remind me about that. We'll go, because I have some theories on superheroes and characters and superhero costumes and stuff. So maybe we'll have a chat about that. So let's pull this down back a little bit. It's right. When I was about 10 years old, my daddy took a coin, put it in his hand and rubbed. Coin vanished and appeared in the other hand. I was like, whoa, how did you do that? He said, I can't tell you. I said, why not? He said, you're not a magician. I said, I want to be a magician. He said, you don't. I said, I do. He said, you don't. I said, I do. He said, you'd have to practice every day. I said, I will. He said, you won't. I said, I will. So I did. Found the biggest coins I could lay my hands on. Managed to get 3 of them all together. And I practiced until I could make one of the coins, just one, jump from this hand into this hand. I was like, Dad, I think I'm a magician. He said, you're not. I said, I am. He said, you're not. I said, I am. And I can make a coin jump from this hand into this hand faster than the eye can see. He said, you can't. I said, I can. He said, you can't. I said, I can. So I did. From this hand into this hand faster than the eye could see. Said for a first go, that's not bad. for a first go, but all the best magicians do the magic slow, and you can see. I said they don't. He said they do. I said they don't. He said they do. Try it. I said I will. He said you won't. I said I will. So I did, as slow as I could go, just for my dad. So that's Final Destination.
That's hilarious, man. See, that's what I said by comedy, man. That's your character on stage is just so likably funny. I know you're going to talk about superheroes and characters, and I was hoping that that's where you were leading into.
Yeah, I mean, I put the hat on. That's my superhero costume. I think a lot of magicians you can base your character on a superhero. David Copperfield looks very much like Superman. He like stands like Superman, and he can fly. He flies like Superman.
He can fly.
Yeah, you know, he's like Superman. If you look at Chris Angel, he's like one of these Twilight vampires, something nice, cool, rock and roll. You look at David Blaine, he's almost spiritual. He's almost Jesus-like in some respects, like fasting for 40 days, buried alive, you know, on top of these pillars. It's very spiritual, very religious. Darren Brown is almost like Sherlock Holmes-like. You know, he can look at you. So very, very. I mean, Dynamo. I don't know about Dynamo. But do you have Doctor Who in America?
Yes, we're many of my friends are Whovians.
Yeah, I'm like an autistic Doctor Who. Is what I describe myself.
Doctor Who.
If you think about Doctor Who is the most powerful man in the whole universe, right? He has the whole of time and space running through his head. The most powerful man. But you only ever get to see a tiny little glimpse of that each episode. A tiny little glimpse. And for the rest of the time, you're just looking into this quirky guy's life. And that's kind of what my magic is. I'm withholding power. Withholding power is quite important. If you're not saying, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, if you're just letting someone have a little glimpse of the incredible power that you have, they will think that you've got more. You know, so a lot of the time, and with Doctor Who, the people that he's with are very often the heroes. You know, so the people that I get up on stage with me, they're the heroes of the show more than me. I'm happy to share the spotlight with them, which is important. It's a big spotlight.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was gonna say, and it seems as though like even in your three-fly routine that, like, I mean, you were obviously trying to make magic happen. That's what that was part of the routine. But it still seemed less like you were doing magic and more like it was happening to you. And I think that's somewhat important.
Yeah, it is. But I'm also it's a true story, more or less. You know, I don't need to act that story because it's true. If what you're saying really happens, or you have a real knowledge of it, your body will act accordingly. So you don't need to act it. My dad did take a coin and he made it vanish, and I did have to practice all the time to make it go. So it's based on truth, and I think a lot of that's important in magic as well. You have to, even if it's not true, you have to believe it's true, and the silent script helps a lot with that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
I was going to say, no, absolutely. It was one of the best tips I was ever given was, like, if you take a coin and you put it into that hand, then when you, in your head, that coin's in that hand. It's not right there. It's sitting right there
Absolutely.
in the hand.
Yeah, yeah.
And you believe that it's there. If you don't believe it's there, then nobody's going to believe it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the trick to believing it's there is to tell yourself that it's there. So if you literally say inside your own head, I've got a coin in my hand, your whole body will act like you have a coin in your hand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You'll feel it, you'll hear it, whole 9 yards. Let's see here. Sorry, it's hard to work both screens.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll show you this. This is the new trick.
Ooh.
This is called Ripper. This was a guy asked me how did I create magic, so I thought I'd go home and I'll try and create a new trick, and I didn't know what I was going to create. I had no idea what I was going to come up with, and I had some cards on the table, so I thought I'd do a torn and restored card. So this is it. It can be signed on the front here. So this side's signed, and it's also signed on the back. Let me just turn it a little. Is that better? So it's signed on both sides, and then you can tear it, turn it around, put it back, and now you can hand it out, and it's signed on both sides.
Huh. Well, let me see. I'm gonna screen it back to you. Wow. Huh.
And that you give that away now. That's totally, you can examine that. That's
And
a
it
total
doesn't
giveaway.
it's not gonna just fall apart. It's on there good.
No, it's a printed card,
Oh, it's printed.
completely printed. Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, it's hard to see. It's a little bit glary.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and come back this way a little.
There we go. That was better. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And there's no sleight of hand. That was the hardest bit. I had the idea for it, but then to make it a commercial thing, something that people would use, you have to make it easy. Because you can have the most difficult sleight in the world, and people can't do it. So you're ripping them off, and you have to give them a good quality. So you sign it here and here, you tear, turn it around, just a little blow, and you're done. That's it.
I like that. I like that a lot. So when is that coming out?
That will, well, I should have some with me on my lecture tour in America, but the big release will probably be Blackpool in February.
And that's we kind of talked about your tour a little bit here and there beforehand. Can you tell us a little bit about your lecture tour, where it's going, and what you might talk about?
Yeah, I'm coming. Well, we're going to Florida on the 28th of December. Me, my girlfriend's mum and dad. We're gonna have a couple of weeks holiday there, and then I'm going and touring around Florida, and then I'm gonna go to up South Carolina, and then we go to Ohio for Magi Fest. I'm doing, or Magi Fest, I think you guys call it, Magi Fest. We're going there. And then we're going, hopefully, to come and see you in Arizona. Then we're going to go up to California and then finish off in Vegas. And I'm going to be in Vegas for my 40th birthday.
Woo!
Which I'm excited about.
Well, when exactly you're going to be in Vegas? That's after February?
The 9th of February to the 14th of February, I think. So we'll be there for my birthday and Valentine's Day.
Maybe we'll have to come up and see you here from Arizona. Come celebrate with you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We can have a little party. That'd be wicked.
Well, I'm getting, because I'm actually getting married there here in December, December 13th. I'll be in Vegas getting married. So
this year.
What was that?
This year, yeah.
Yeah, this year.
So
this year. My wedding's like less than almost a month. Just
you never know. I might get married when I'm there.
Absolutely, man. Well, we've covered a heck of a lot. Is there anything else you think you'd like to cover? Any other tours, lecture notes?
No, I've got a couple of dates free for the lecture. If anyone has any reason to get me there, I think I've got 3 or 4 days where we're doing nothing, so we can fill it with something if anyone wants to see me. Apart from that, no, we're going to be opening our own magic theatre next year.
They're in Spain or over in...
Yeah, in Spain we're going to have a parlour magic theatre, so it'll be like 40 or 50 seats, and it's like doing a parlour show called the Chamber of Secrets.
That's awesome, man. Well, and I'm hopefully we can't go on a good honeymoon this year, but we're planning one for the next year or so, and we wanted to go to Europe, see a lot of you guys come out, hang out. So that by that point you should be open. That would be really nice.
Yeah, get yourself home, man. Be great to see you.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wind this one down. You've been an awesome guest. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to go ahead and thank Edward Mann for putting these things together. Always really appreciate it. And thank you guys very much. We're going to conclude this broadcast here. You guys have a good night.
Cheers.
All right. So.